Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the show where AI goes from hype to habit. I'm your host, Rajeev Sajja. Each week, we make AI approachable and actionable for real estate professionals who want to stay ahead of the curve. From lead generation to listing presentations, from marketing strategy to client experience, you'll hear how top agents and industry leaders are using AI to work smarter, save time, and grow their business. So whether you're just getting started or already experimenting with AI tools, this podcast gives you ideas you can use right now. Now let's get to this week's special guest. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. I can't believe that we are recording this in late November, but this is going to air in January. I can't believe we're in 2026 already, Jessica. And our guest today, by the way, is Jessica Souza, I'm sorry if I butchered your name there, is the broker and co-owner of Paradise Exclusive Real Estate, a leading boutique brokerage based in Southwest Florida. She's recognized for her focus on empowering agents and her commitment to innovative mentorship and professional development within the real estate industry. She's often featured at industry events on stage, a contributing writer for Inman, and last but not the least, the author of the book, Agent Playbook, a guide designed to help agents excel by providing actionable insights and strategies. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. So I gave you a pretty decent introduction. Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name, but I'd love for let's start,
Okay.
let's start with how did you get into real estate and bring us to today?
Sure. So my career definitely did not start in real estate. I actually worked in higher education in an admissions program. I did admissions and then I moved into a recruitment role. Really learned the art of communication there, relationship building, navigating. Recruitment is not for the weak, but there's a lot that translates over into real estate. My husband was active duty, so we moved a lot, which meant a lot of reinvention for myself. So I actually ended up opening up a portrait studio. I was a portrait photographer for about 7 years, so learned a lot about marketing and systems and branding. I partnered with brands like Pottery Barn and Babies R Us, and had some really, really cool partnerships for that, portion of my life. And then I worked for a marketing firm, working for brands like Dell and Jeep and Absolute, Microsoft, and ran some of their programs in the Austin market and in the Boston market. So super fun. When we moved to Florida, I decided, maybe I was going to go back to my roots and get back into higher education. I worked as a recruiter for a state college for a year. And while I was very successful, I increased their admission at their Venice location by over 400% in 1 year. I was like, I've worked for myself for long enough now that why did I go back working for somebody else? So pivot into real estate. And kind of worked for a team, grew out of that, worked for a builder, grew out of that, and then kind of became broker and made partner a couple years ago with Paradise. And so definitely found my people, found my, area. We love where we live, have about 140 agents right now across 3 offices. And it's just kind of the perfect intersection of everything that I've done before kind of led me into this role.
Yeah, no, first of all, thank your husband for his service for the country.
I appreciate that.
And, your brokerage name is, I think, perfect for Florida, like Paradise. Some parts of Florida for sure are paradise. I don't know if I shared this with you. My youngest daughter is a junior at Florida State in Tallahassee.
Okay, no, I did not know that. You should see the agent's office next to me. It is all Florida State, decked out.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Pride. Okay, so everybody's got a different light bulb moment with AI, and so this is like transformative at some level for our businesses. What was your first light bulb moment with AI?
For me, I think it was really that realization that it's not really just a shortcut, it's a multiplier, right? So I think at first you kind of play in there and you're like, oh, it's going to help me, draft this email really quick and it's going to make me sound smarter. I think that's what a lot of people try to make it sound a little bit more sophisticated, change their vocabulary up a little bit, maybe help with punctuation. But what I realized is that it really can do much more. It can 10x your workflow if you're really leveraging it and beyond, depending on to which ways that you have it kind of integrated into your workspace. Like, I'll give you an example. I was working on a really complicated board communication. I'm the president of our local chamber, and it's a really complicated situation anyway. And I'm like, I just downloaded all my thoughts and threw it in there and was like, make this make sense, at this education level, like keep it simple. It would have taken me at least an hour to fine tune that and make it deliverable in a way that I think would have been received by all of the other members of the board. But I had it back in, 15 seconds, and it was beautiful. And I went in and made some finesse. I like it to sound like me. But when I realized, like, oh my gosh, that just saved me easy an hour's worth of work, you start doing that over and over and over throughout your day, and you gain so much time back. So then it's helping us, refine our messaging or create marketing copy, or helping us work through our SOPs that nobody wants to create because they're such a time suck.
Yeah.
But, utilizing AI to watch you work and then tell you what your standard operating procedure is, and then you can kind of finesse it, building those templates, analyzing data. It really is a multiplier, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You bring up a good point. I mean, I think we all started with AI early when our first introduction to it was like, let me just replace Google with like just searching ChatGPT for certain things, like a foundational level. And then we start to elevate our usage by using it as a thought partner. Like, I talk to AI all the time sometimes, like when I'm going on a morning walk and share something I'm about to do that I've never done before, or want to elevate the thinking and ask it to poke holes in the strategy. It lets you really elevate your thinking, to your point. So you have 140 agents across 3 offices, you mentioned, Jessica.
Yes.
So you're a managing broker, co-owner, so you sort of have multiple hats, almost like you sort of grew through the real estate space. So what are some specific AI use cases that have helped you and your team that are like almost like a rinse and repeat? Do this if this is the use case to elevate your output, and just kind of dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, we have a couple instances. So obviously, one of the most simple things that we're doing is trying to make sure that we're teaching agents how to leverage AI.
Yeah.
Because when they can increase productivity, obviously it helps us as a result of that. So we definitely, we partner with a couple of our vendors who bring in experts in the field to help teach and show them practical ways to really help leverage their day-to-day. But as the way that the brokerage is really using it to help us in our space is we've created our own custom GPTs.
Okay.
So we have one that's like a broker knowledge base. We've made sure to feed it very specific information and don't want it to go stray outside of that knowledge base. But we, use it to help answer like just general questions like what's our broker ID, or what's our tax number, or who's on floor today at this location, or how do I reserve the golf cart, without them having to call an office admin or a broker to figure out those simple things, or I forgot the door code, like just little things. So it's lit up a lot with stuff that's hyper specific to our brokerage, but then it also can help guide them through MLS principles and rules. What is the regulation? How long do I have before I have to hit this live in the MLS? And just help guide them and make sure they're staying within compliance. So we have that side of it, which has been fun. And we allow our agents to provide real-time feedback of like, hey, I've asked it this. It told me to go back to you, because that's what we tell it to do. If it doesn't know, just resort back to the broker.
Yeah.
And it allows us to then say, okay, great. Yes, let's build up some knowledge to feed it so we can make sure it has that accurate information. So definitely interesting learning what questions agents have on a day-to-day that maybe they're just going to Google for traditionally. And now we can really fine tune it to be specific to kind of what our standards are as a brokerage. But then the other side of the GPT, which this is probably one of my favorite tools that we have, and it's actually helped surprisingly with recruitment indirectly. We don't really have a recruitment arm, but when we with agents who are interested in joining the brokerage, when we share that we have this kind of technology for them, they're really impressed because they see the value save for themselves. So we have a brand new community, Welland Park. It's one of the fastest growing communities in the nation. Over 20,000 homes being built. It's just rapid growth. There's immense amount of different sub communities within, with different rules and regulations and amenities and CDD fees and HOA fees, and it's a lot to learn. Some are under construction, some are resale only at this point, some are condos, some are 55 plus. I mean, you kind of get it. It's all over the map. And any agent coming in trying to learn that, it's instant overwhelm. And it's a lot of information to compile. And by the time you get through it, you have to go start all over again because stuff has been changed and updated. So we actually dedicated a staff person to take the time to build it, where they compiled all this data, fed it into a GPT. So now you can ask it a question and it will guide you. And then now on a monthly basis, she just checks in with each community, gets an updates where needed. So that's always up to date over the last, 30 days. So an example would be an agent who maybe has never showed property in that community. They live 30 minutes away, but their client really wants to go see property there. They don't know which community to bring them to. They could easily ask this GPT, I have a client, they have a 40-pound dog, they like pickleball, they don't want any CDD fees. This is what they're looking for. New construction under this price point, where should I bring them? And it's going to say, oh, these 2 communities are where you're going to need to stay. So it helps them refine and really fine tune without having to spend hours of research and digging. And so when you're able to do that, the power that gives your agents to just go and do what they're good at versus spending all this time digging and researching has been really beneficial.
Yeah. So let me kind of double click on a couple of things. You brought up the first one was AI literacy, which is very interesting. I think all of our companies, people that are listening, majority of our agents that are listening to this podcast, some broker leaders like yourself, and it's interesting. They have waves of AI literacy, but it's not consistent, right? It's got to become part of the training curriculum, right? Because if you are literate, you can ask the right questions, know what tool to use for what. The second one that you bring up is a very interesting. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's like a knowledge base, answering questions. I was in a keynote, Jessica, that a presenter talked about. They put the number 32 on the board and said, tell me what that number is about. Well, nobody's going to guess that. But the answer was, it's 32 days people spend a year at their jobs looking for information. Mm-hmm. Imagine the productivity, just literally. It is such an easy, low-hanging fruit problem that has the biggest impact to solve, like finding information. And that's a great one. And so you built a communities GPT, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty large communities, obviously, a few communities into that 20,000 homes thing. Is that something that is only available for your agents? Obviously, you're using it in recruiting and you show how you use it. Do you also offer it to potential recruits?
We don't. It is private to our agents. It's one of those things where it's, we're spending the time, money, and effort to continuously update that. When people are interviewing and they're going around, they're asking what we offer. A lot of the times you'll see that there's a lot of commonalities from broker A to broker B. And aside from like your tech offerings, what else is it that you're offering? And so I think this is something that sets us apart because, again, we're doing things that are time saving. Everything that we do, we really try to look at it from an agent's perspective and how we can add value to them. We look at our agents as they're our clients, and the client, the customers, the buyer, the sellers are their clients. So if we can serve our agents well, they'll serve the public well.
100%.
Yeah. And so by leveraging AI and helping them do their job. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a Google shop? Like your email is on Google or no?
No, we have Outlook, Microsoft for our email. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and Google's been doing some crazy good stuff. I think they've sort of overtaken OpenAI.
I've seen a lot of your Instagram.
And
you share a lot.
It is. I'll tell you, if I had to start a company, I would probably pivot to Google from a Google Workspace, just because foundationally they're doing some really cool stuff. But then again, next week OpenAI is going to release something and they'll be ahead. So this is like a game. They're all in a race to win, right? So so you have how many employees do you have? I mean, some are used. Are there any employee stuff that you're doing specific for employee efficiencies? Anything there from an AI perspective?
No, I wouldn't say so. Our tech, we're very fortunate where we selected a tech partner that integrates AI and really tries to leverage and utilize AI. And that actually what brought you and I together was real estate. And so when you align with the right people and you select the right platforms, they're going to continue to innovate and utilize. So that eliminates me having to be the one to innovate. The platforms kind of have it built in. And so it helps create some sense of automation. It eliminates duplicate entry and human error. And so that stuff has really helped. But that's not being driven necessarily by me, except for the fact that I selected the right partner.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's commendable, Jessica, for the size of your company, you've sort of stayed on the leading edge a little bit to understand what AI can do, so you can at least ask the right questions. That's what I tell people. If you don't know what AI can do, you can't even ask the right questions of any partners you want to partner with, right? For any level of stuff. So anything else on AI before I get to your book, which I want to dig into a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a tool that a lot of people were scared of in the beginning, and I think a lot of people are still getting really comfortable with. Being in Southwest Florida, our demographic's a little bit older, and so the idea of utilizing AI, it's a soft sell for sure.
Yeah.
Low and slow, small ways to improve, and then they see how it's working, and a lot of lessons along the way, like don't just copy and paste, and make sure you remove the section at the bottom that's like, can I make any changes for you? Before you post it online, like, simple things, just making sure best practices. But ultimately, I think if you take the time to learn and understand and you follow experts in the field like yourself, whether it's on a podcast or Instagram, and just take little micro bursts of information, you'll begin to see how you can utilize and implement in your day-to-day, which it really is powerful.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So if I had to ask Jessica, before I pivot to the book, your top 2 AI tools, like is there like besides ChatGPT, I'm assuming is one of them. Is there anything
Yeah,
else,
of course.
Jessica?
Yeah, ChatGPT definitely is going to be in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's actually where we build our custom
sure.
GPTs, just
Yeah,
because they make it really easy. So that definitely has to stay in my leaderboard. And then I would actually say that our CRM, Bold Trail, is another AI tool that really helps leverage. Now they can have it where you can set up a custom search just by talking to the system.
yeah.
And so in the space of real estate, it's doing some really cool stuff, and they're going to be rolling out, some more AI tools on the back office side to help expedite things for admin. So I would say Inside Real Estate's doing some really dynamic stuff and helps us in our day to day.
Yeah, for sure. I had Chris McGoldrick, by the way, who ran that home search stuff that got purchased by Bold Trail. He was my first international guest
Oh, very cool.
from New Zealand. Yeah. So, all right, let's get to your book. So, when did you first write the book, Agent Playbook? When was it?
So it's an interesting story. So I've lived it for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
It came out of a place of necessity. I interview a lot of agents, every year, and I feel like I have the same conversations over and over and over. So I'm like, it'd be so great if this was just consolidated. Not that I mind sharing and talking, but I'm like, if it could be just a practical, digestible playbook. And so, beginning of last year, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put all my thoughts to paper. And if I can have it written by my 35th birthday, that's the goal. So I set a goal. My birthday was February 9th. And I'm like, we're writing the book. So I finished writing it. I actually woke up every single morning between 4 and 4:30 and wrote every single morning, even on weekends, because I know the second I stop and let my foot off the gas, it's very easily to get distracted or, lose motivation. So
Yeah.
I just pedaled to the metal, had the book written in about 3 months, and then finished it. So finished November, did pre-sales, but actually waited to launch until my birthday. So my book launch and my 35th birthday were February 9th of this year, 2025. And yeah, that was really it. And so it's helped. It's definitely helped me in my day-to-day. When we get a new agent, we partnered with a vendor who actually gifts them a book every time that we have a new agent. So they buy the book and gift it to the agent. But I've partnered with brokers all across the country who are doing orders for their team, and we customize that front page with a letter from their broker, because the tools in here, it's less about sales, because there's plenty of practical information on that, and it's more about how to get started in real estate as a business owner, because I feel like there's a huge gap there. When you come into real estate, you don't really realize like you own your own business now, and there's some things that come along with that that you got to be prepared for. So it's really just trying to help people get set up for success out of the gate. And I think, and I hope that that's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, so we'll put a link to the book in the show notes. I mean, I think with all the experience that Jessica has gained in real estate, it seems to be a book written for real estate agents when they start their career, or if they're experienced agents as well, to kind of fill in the gaps of how you can be the CEO of your business and be successful on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. So I appreciate you taking the time to write that book. I'm sure it'll be very valuable for our listeners. So we'll put a link in the show notes. So anything else you want to cover before I get to my final two questions I ask all my guests, Jessica?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So you've been in real estate. You talked, I mean, how many years total from like the start to today? Ballpark it.
8. We're going on 8 years.
Nice. Okay. So what advice would you give your younger self if you were starting in the business today?
If I had to give myself some advice, it would be to not be afraid to ask for help. I think, there's this culture. I mean, I grew up with the song INDEPEN, right? Like this being this independent woman, right? And so like, of course, there's a lot of power in that, but really becoming independent is learning how to make the best use of your time. And so looking and watching and saying, okay, I can pay somebody $20 to do this, or I can spend 5 hours doing it. Which is a better use of my time and money? And learning how to leverage that sooner. I think I would have made strides a lot faster if I outsourced and handed off things that, like, really simple things that other people could be doing. So I could go off and do what I'm really good at. I think I would have seen growth faster. That being said, doing the grunt work myself, I learned a lot of lessons. And so there was definitely some learning, but I think that was a big part of it, is just not being afraid to ask for help sooner or hand things off sooner, reflect and not be afraid to do that.
Yeah. One of the things that has helped me is to delegate things that I'm not good at to people that are good at those things.
Yeah.
Because you stagnate if you don't delegate. So it's a great piece of advice. So are you a book or a podcast person? I know you wrote a book. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, Jessica is all about branding, at least the back wall. So she's got the agent playbook on the back.
And a cuss word. Don't worry.
I'm not. I read that, Jessica. I'm not going to read it, but it is good in good spirit for sure. So, are you a book or a podcast person?
I do a little bit of both. Yeah, I'm a mom, so getting a quiet minute to read is wild. But I do, and then but I do podcasts regularly. But I would say if I had to give you one or the other, I have a go-to book that I would recommend that I think everybody.
Yeah.
The Go Giver.
Oh yeah.
Hands down for me.
Bob Burg. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic book. I read that when I actually was working for Dell. I was a field market manager for their veterans program, and I kept trying to explain this thought process, right, of like coming from a place of service, and it was really hard explaining that to sales executives. And they were wanting me to go out and do these things, and I'm like, it's just not authentic, especially to the veteran community. I need to connect and I need to serve, and when you come from a place of serving, and so I ended up finding this book. I got really struggling with, what they were asking me to do. Not that it was anything unethical. It just didn't feel good. And so I read this book and I'm like, this is what I've been trying to say. So it helped give me the words to have the conversation so I could explain really a way that feels more authentically me, which is, really coming to it from a place of service, showing up, and everything comes back around. So that's how I live every single day. And I think everybody should read that book.
Yeah, for sure. In a world that can be perceived as there's a lot more takers than givers, I think Go Giver is a perfect book to read. At least once a year I read that book. It's a phenomenal book. And Jessica, thank you for giving today to our listeners. It's a great example of, thank you for being here. And I hope to meet you again in real life sometime real soon, and have a great 2026 for you and your team.
I appreciate that. You have a great rest of, rest of 2025 for us. And I hope 2026 is beautiful to you.
Yep. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
Here are my key takeaways from Jessica. Be curious and commit to learning AI, making AI literacy a business imperative. Second, find problems that take a lot of time in your schedule and introduce AI to get time back. Like, for example, she built an informative custom GPT to find answers to agents' questions. Second, she also built a community custom GPT to answer all the questions about homes for our agents. If you found value in this show, follow it so you're notified every Wednesday when new episodes drop. Share it with someone in the industry that can benefit from it. And finally, leave us a review as it helps us reach more real estate professionals like you.